And welcome back to, this is way too loud, Late Night Lately, the Late Night Show. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the late night show for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Buddy, you don't have to get up. Welcome back in to the show that we talk about, during which we talk about late night. Anyway, here we are. I took 2 weeks off. 2 weeks off because there weren't going to be a lot of late night shows on, which is fine. And sometimes that's just what has to happen. You know, sometimes you have to take a break. I'm taking a break from LinkedIn logs. You know, I'm still mourning the cat. It's fine. We're fine. We're allowed to do things. I will tell you, I'll do a little behind the scenes. I'm currently without Premiere. So I was just editing an interview that I did a couple of weeks ago. First of all, my hair looks insane. But second, my hair looks insane right now. But second, I'm sitting there doing the thing, and I was doing it on a different software. And it was just the toughest thing to figure out. So I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get back to Premiere. Anyway, here we are, back at it again, talking about late night. Let's get into it. And, you know, this is something I've been thinking about for the past 2 weeks, as I have not been doing an episode. I realized that in 61, I linked to Everybody's Live with John Mulaney, but I didn't talk about the clip. So that is my fault. But I've been thinking about that, I'm not kidding, so often. Like, I linked to it, I didn't talk about it. And people think I didn't watch it. All right, let's get into it. This week after midnight had a really great week of people that they pulled together. We had Andy Richter and Cassidy Freeman and Tim Bagley, Tim Baltz, Lennon Parham, and Chris Fleming, whose people tried to set me up on an interview with, and he denied. And then also, here's an interesting thing that I thought was, I'm sorry, I did not do the Monday people. Jason Ritter and Joel Kim Booster, who I did interview, and Rachel Scanlon. But here's an interesting, here's a crop of people that I thought was such a, for this show, for After Midnight, it's a get. Bokeem Woodbine, David Oyelowo, and Simone Missick. It's so interesting to me how they were able to get actors. And I was just watching a clip from it. Taylor Tomlinson's like, yeah, we like she threw out a premise for a joke, and then the actors just kind of stared at her, and then everybody reacted because it was a funny moment. And she goes, "It's so funny when we get, actors, like real actors, and we ask them to do something, and then but we ask comedians to do it, and they just kind of do it." It was very interesting. When I saw Bokeem Woodbine, I thought, this guy's not a comedian. And then I went, but he's more of a comedian than David Oyelowo. So what are we doing here? Anyway, it's an interesting get. I'm going to watch the entire episode, the rest of the episode, when I finish with this. Continuing on, the Late Show with Stephen Colbert was back, and they picked up. They brought in a guest that was so smart. Amber Ruffin. She's a writer for Late Night with Seth Meyers. She was supposed to host the White House Correspondents' Dinner. They nixed that. She's upset. We're upset. Everybody's upset. So she was able to sit down with Colbert and talk about the night that never happened. Wanda Sykes Escuela, who is now nominated for a Tony Award. Congratulations. They also appeared. Jonathan Groff performed one of his Broadway songs. We'll get to something in a second. Jen Psaki, the lovely Jen Psaki, sat down with, and then Walton Goggins, John McWhorter. Okay. Now, here's the thing. There's a clip. I did not watch this episode of the Late Night Show, or what's it called? The Late Show. I did not watch this, nor will I click on this clip. And when I saw it in my subscriptions on YouTube, I went, what Excuse my language. What the F is that? It's a clean show. It says, Stephen Colbert presents That's Guyot. Spill the tea. Baby girl, no cap on my drip. Stan. I don't know what any of that means. My issue, and this points to a larger issue I have with John Oliver, and to some extension when John Stewart hosts The Daily Show. When these hosts that are largely playing characters for their shows, when these hosts step out of this, and John Oliver does this every single episode, but when these hosts step out of the range of I'm a straight white man delivering jokes, when John Oliver switches and starts saying things that are from the internet or that are for younger, more urban types. I'll tell you a story about urban in a second. The reason why I use that word. It comes off as so disingenuous and is so unfunny, and it really slows everything down. And I just don't think it's good at all. So when I saw that, I just went, that's gross. And when John Oliver does it every single episode, and it's so frustrating to watch. I don't like it at all. Anyway, I use the word urban to describe what a young colored youth would say. I am so disengaged from today. Anyway, years ago, I was on, when I was paying for my script to be hosted on Blacklist. Some producer found me that, and I've told the story on LinkedIn Logs, the podcast about jobs. But this producer reached out, and in his production company, if there's Transformers, they made Transmorphers. So he reached out and was like, would you write an urban female-driven horror movie? And I went, sure. So I wrote like 3 premises, and then I wrote a couple of pages of 2 of those premises. So the first one I wrote was truly the better story. I love it. I think it's great, and I expanded on it a little bit in my own personal time. And he went, no, I need to be more urban. And I went, okay. So then I wrote like this truly stereotypical thing, and he was like, yeah, that's it. I went, oh my gosh. He's like, a little less N-word. Like, what do you want? Oh my God. And then, unfortunately, once I started asking questions, he just kind of backed out of the whole discussion. I remember we had a phone conversation once, and he was in such a hurry. It was very clear he was driving, and he was just like, hey, how's it going? Oh, yeah, we could do this. Yeah. And that's how he sounded too. He's like, yeah, it's going to be good. Don't know why I ever trusted this man. I don't know if I ever told that part of the story. All right, let's move on. On the Tonight Show, it was a nice solid week. Chef Jose Andres and Martha Stewart came by to talk about their new show, Yes Chef, which I recorded on YouTube TV, in an effort to not watch it on Peacock because I have Peacock with ads, and the ads have gotten longer. You noticed that. I was on the treadmill. Today's Friday. I was on the treadmill on Wednesday, and I'm catching up on Grosse Pointe Garden Society. I do like that show. I've interviewed a lot of the cast. I do like that show. I was catching up on it, and I wake up. I'm not gonna tell you what time I wake up. I wake up very early. It's middle of the night, still early, that kind of early. But I have a treadmill. It's in the storage unit, and it's a whole thing. But I do Peloton classes. I do a walk and a run before I do my upper body at the gym. And when I was walking, I said, I'm going to watch Grosse Pointe Garden Society. I'll put it on. I completely forgot. I use Peacock every single day. I completely forgot I have it with ads. And I put my phone down, and the iPad has the Peloton class, and I'm running. And then as soon as I press play, I guess the last time I ended the episode, it had like 2 minutes until an ad break. It went to an ad break, like 90 seconds. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Okay. I'm doing a 30-minute run. And then it does that in 7 minutes. And then ad break, 90 seconds. And I'm just thinking, Jiminy Christmas. But it's even tougher. I don't know if you tried to run and watched, I don't know, let's say a football game or a basketball game on YouTube TV or Amazon Prime, and you have to fast forward to get the commercials, trying to hit your screen. It's going next. So this morning on the treadmill, I just put on Fast and Furious 6. Excuse me, 8. I put on Fate of the Furious. That's right. It's good. I love the Fast and Furious Transformers franchise. I like the Transformers franchise. I own every Transformers movie. I own every I own 7 of the Fast and Furious movies. How many are there? 9? No, Fast X. There's 10. I own 6. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and Hobbs and Shaw, and 10. So I own 7. All right, anyway, Anna Kendrick was there, and Jeremy Renner, Marilyn Reichkob. Nimesh Patel did some stand-up. Chase Suey Wonders was there. And who else? Adam Devine, who I've interviewed before. Vince Vaughn. Penn Bagley. And, of course, Rory McIlroy. I love Rory McIlroy. He's one of my favorite golfers. And I am excited to sit down. Full disclosure, it is 9:55 in the morning. I've only watched one late night show, and that was after midnight. And I've only watched like half of a clip of one. So I need to hop on the television and keep watching. But there we go. I knocked this out really early because another full disclosure, I burned about 700, 800 calories today for my 3-hour workout. I'm going to take a nap. Okay, moving on. On Late Night with Seth Meyers, I lost it. No, there it is. Blake Lively, Zana Garg, Florence Pugh, who had her own. I think they put her on an entire episode by herself. I think they gave her her episode was a closer look. The monologue, a closer look, Florence Pugh, and then the thing I linked to in the show notes. Graydon Carter, Gabriel Luna, Tina Fey. We also had a joke Seth Can't Tell. Adam Levine, Martha Stewart. What a great week for shows. The thing I linked to was you should also go watch that joke Seth Can't Tell, America's Lesbian Bars, new opera about the Black experience. The thing is, they call it out. And it's something that I noticed as a viewer, as a comedy enjoyer. They had a bad audience, and they had some great jokes. And this audience they clearly wanted to see a closer look. They clearly wanted to see anything that wasn't joke Seth Can't Tell. And joke Seth Can't Tell, no, they wanted to see a closer look. Let's just say that. Don't go for a closer look. Go for the great comedy things that this show is going to do. And I'll say that for every late night show. Don't know why my words slurred in the sentence before that last one. But that joke Seth Can't Tell was so funny, and I'm sitting there laughing at home. Like, it's the same thing. I rewatch a lot of SNL. I do. And it's not new. There's a network that launched a couple of months ago called TBD. They just this week renamed themselves to Roar, but it's a stupid name. But I think it means like the roar of the laughter. But they do they air reruns of SNL with at least the modern episodes within the last like 15 years. And I don't know how they got this, but they also include the musical guests. But they do SNL, they do Whose Line Is It Anyway? They just got Key and Peele, but I think they're only airing that at like 3 o'clock in the morning, which might be the time I wake up to work out. That's not a joke. 30 minutes after that. And then like 2 other things, but they don't have a lot. World's Funniest Animal Things, Anyway, John Lutz, who was a writer for Late Night with Seth Meyers, who was also, I believe, a writer with SNL. I think so. And he was a actor on 30 Rock. And I think he might have been right on that show too. But they did a great 7-minute, which I think it is a paid ad. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's a paid ad. But they did this product tester segment, which is along the lines of what if you watch America's Test Kitchen, they do product testing, and Wirecutter on the New York Times, they do product testing, like here are the best portable USB-C drives or something like that, and it's great, it's wonderful. Check it out. It's a funny thing, and I really love it. Also, check out Wirecutter and America's Test Kitchen. I love them both. Then on Jimmy Kimmel Live, I really wish I put these tabs in the right order. Allison Janney, Dax Shepard, Governor J.B. Pritzker, Mo Amir, the Thunderbolts star cast, Billy Idol, and let's see, that's it, right? Julia Louis-Dreyfus. And then, of course, the great Smokey did I say Allison Janney? And the great Smokey Robinson, who also performed, stopped by. The same thing with Billy Idol. He also performed with Avril Lavigne. It's great to see that these I hate to write these words, but that these guys still have it. It's wonderful. And the Thunderbolts cast, that was going to be big no matter what. Moving on. Who do I have next? John Oliver talks about RFK Jr. It was a great segment. And speaking of RFK Jr., I believe in the Thursday night episode of Jimmy Kimmel Live, they did an RFK Jr.'s health briefing. So whoever they have to play RFK Jr. on Jimmy Kimmel Live is doing a great impression. And they're not like butchering his voice, where some people are doing of like a weird voice. Like RFK Jr.'s voice is already very strange, but some people are doing it in such a way that it doesn't make sense. Whomever they got for Jimmy Kimmel Live, whoever they picked up is doing a great job. Okay, moving on. Desi Leidick, Jordan Klepper, and I believe Michael Costa, and I am correct, all hosted this week on The Daily Show, which is something I would have been happy about 7 months ago. But now we'd gotten into this groove of everybody gets a week after Jon Stewart. So it was very interesting to see after Stewart, Klepper came, and then after Klepper, Desi, and then after Desi, Costa. But this show is so malleable with its voice that, and they more or less have all have the same voices, but this show is so malleable with his voice that it's fine to see. And when I was watching Desi yesterday, and I was thinking, oh, this makes me think that they're about to go on break for at least a week or two. I wouldn't doubt it, but I would not be surprised if next week they went on break. And then finally, Everybody's Live. This is the 8th episode. They had Mark Maron and Molly, you know what? Molly Shannon. I was going to say Molly Kiernan, and I was like, who? Ronnie Chang. Fish. It's a good episode. All right. And let's get on to, wow, we're already 20, like, it's crazy. 20 minutes in, and we're just not getting to the story. There was there were a couple of things talking about Seth Meyers. This comes from Deadline, written by Peter White. This is from last week, I believe. Seth Meyers warns Emmy voters not to turn late night's corrections into The Wire of short-form digital content. We know that Seth Meyers does, if you listen to this show, to the very least, you at least know that Seth Meyers does Corrections, which is a correction segment that they upload every Thursday, where jackals all send in notes about what went wrong with the show. the previous week. It's great. Seth is going crazy as he does it. I love it so much. But the show has been up for an Emmy. I was going to say an Oscar. Has been up for an Emmy for the past couple of years. They've lost to John Oliver. No, excuse me. They've lost to James Corden and his Carpool Karaoke. They've lost to other things. This is the year. Let's put the show. The show's going to go up. Oh, they also lost to Only Murders in the Building, One Killer Question, which I think is just an after show. And then they weren't even nominated last year because of I Think You Should Leave. Now, Meyers is telling the panel during Deadline's TV Contenders documentary, Unscripted and Variety. I don't know what I was reading. He said, it's a lock. It's an effing lock. I know you're not supposed to say this, but I think there's a real risk for Emmy voters. For Late Night, it's an honor to be nominated, but Corrections should definitely win. And if you don't vote for it, there's a chance that 20 years from now, it's like The Wire, where people are like, that never won an Emmy. Am I saying that Corrections is The Wire of short form digital content? Yeah. And I think anybody who watches would say the same. We need to, if you're an Emmy voter, you have to put this up. The Corrections is so great. I love Corrections so much. I watch it every single week. If you're watching the video, you saw me turn my head. I was not checking on the dog. I am going to take him out in a second. I wanted to see if it was still sunny outside because apparently it's going to rain. I want Corrections to win an Emmy. And every year every single year, this is probably why they should stop doing this, but every single year that they put themselves up as contenders, they've let the viewers choose the episodes, and there's a range of episodes you can only choose from. So if they put out between, I believe you can no longer. Well, people are now putting themselves up for Emmys, but I believe that the eligibility period is from late September to April, something along those lines. So you'll get like episodes 69 through 99. I need this show to win. Continuing off of Seth Meyers, this comes from Late Nighter, written by Nick Ricardo. This is again from last week. Breaks my heart. Seth Meyers talks after midnight cancellation. So Seth Meyers' airtime mate is whatever is airing after the Late Show with Stephen Colbert. For a period of time, it was Letterman, Corden. That show, the Late Show, actually, Letterman. Excuse me, Ferguson, Corden. And I don't even think he was on during the Ferguson era. Whatever. The thing is, what's interesting, what's great is that they've always had somebody to be a companion show with. I don't think people even talk about, ratings. I don't think people really care about ratings. Right now at this point in time, and within the last 5 years, people will just go and watch a clip on YouTube. Like, that would be the thing. They just go and watch a clip on YouTube. If they see somebody, if Florence Pugh is on Late Night and Florence Pugh and the Thunderbolts cast are on Jimmy Kimmel, they're going to watch it on there. Not a lot of people are like me and going to go home and wake up every morning and go, I can't wait to watch After Midnight. I can't wait to watch The Daily Show. Because we have nothing to live for. So it only makes sense that in the shrinking world of late night shows, you have to lament the loss of another show. And if you didn't know, After Midnight, Taylor Tomlinson is leaving After Midnight because she misses stand-up. She misses touring for stand-up. And instead of looking for a new host, CBS, in an effort to cut the $10 this show already costs from his budget, they're going, hey, look, we're not going to do another 12:35 show. And you know, for there's been a lot of loss when it comes to late night in the past couple of years. In terms of women, there's been a huge step back. Chelsea Handler doesn't have a show. Wait, what? Who am I thinking of? That's not a person. I don't say Jen Wolf. It's Michelle Wolf. Michelle Wolf's show was canceled on Netflix. Joan Rivers passed away, and Samantha Bee's show, which was fantastic, but you know it was canceled. So we don't have a lot of good representation in late night for voices that aren't white men named Jimmy. Again, that's not to take away from them. It's just that these shows deserve to live as well. And in terms of After Midnight being canceled, it just Taylor wanting to tour, that makes sense. She's a comedian, and that's where she came from. She was a touring comedian before. She's going to be a touring comedian after. Whereas for Kimmel and for Colbert and for Myers and for Oliver and for Fallon, they were born and bred into the hosting spots. Whether they come from SNL, they come from The Daily Show, or whatever, they were all born and bred into the house. They might have the gene to do stand-up with like Oliver and Myers, but it's not the same thing as doing stand-up and then coming to a show. Anyway, so Myers is saying, well, during the Deadline's Contenders television showcase, when he was asked about specifically the loss of After Midnight, he said, for every exciting new addition, like with what Mulaney is doing at Netflix, it feels like one or two things fall off. And it's true. Mulaney's show is fantastic, and it brings a breath of fresh air in the same way that John Oliver's show brought a breath of fresh air into late night. And in the same way that A Closer Look has, and even Carpool Karaoke, even segments can do things. Even what Jimmy Kimmel did by starting viral videos, you know, that's sensational. So it's unfortunate that we have these shows that are leaving, and there's a way for them to survive. I mean, in a lot of cases, they should have treated After Midnight like At Midnight, to be this quick hitting, quick cutting joke of the moment, jokes of the moment show. And I think that's a little bit of what After Midnight was missing from the original At Midnight. I like After Midnight. I love At Midnight. Because At Midnight was at a time when social media was still nascent. And, you know, after At Midnight, social media blew up and became people's lives. People make livings off of social media. Whereas before, you know, YouTube is 20. Before, 20 years ago, we could not have predicted where YouTube would. It's now the most watched thing in the world. It beats out Disney. It beats out TV. It's just the most watched thing. And right now, the only things that are able to catch up to it are, you know, Netflix and Disney Plus and TikTok. When everybody should be reading the Bible. Okay. So it not only does this cancellation of not only a competitor, but somebody in the same field, but not only a competitor, but just another fine show. The cancellation is, I think this will be missed, because now when you lose a show like this, like After Midnight, you don't have another show in that same vein. You know, because if we lost The Late Show, then we would still have Jimmy Kimmel Live. We would still have The Tonight Show. But After Midnight was and is its own thing. And the closest thing to it would be Graham Norton's show. Or Taskmaster. I mean, but even Taskmaster, you're not even asking questions. I wouldn't say it's a late night show. I'd say it's a game show featuring comedians. Or comedy bending people. listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website. See, well, it's down still, but we'll be back at some point. cpluscomedy.com, where you can find me talk to famous people. Oh, goodness me. If you want to see a video version of this show, go to youtube.com/cpluscomedy, where you can see a video version of the interviews, of the other podcasts, The Constitutionals, which is the entertainment business news podcast, and LinkedIn Logs, the jobs podcast. Everything's on youtube.com/cpluscomedy. Follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky at cpluscomedy. Be on those platforms at Chad Black White. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.